voices amplified. earGROUND.
New Voices Amplified, the platform. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Plot Marco, and welcome to earGROUND, a platform that brings together different voices, and we seek to amplify those voices. And today, welcome to a very special edition of the program. This edition is called REKETA. It's actually a new talk show that we're going to be hosting from time to time. We'll be speaking to different people, different young people on different issues that relate to young people. And today we are streaming live on earGROUND Facebook page, Plot Marco Facebook page, Zimfest, Zimonsters, where we're streaming live, and also on our YouTube channel. So welcome to everybody who's joined us, and we're going to be having a very interesting conversation, a candid talk, a talk around the drug pandemic in Zimbabwe. But before we do that, I'm going to show you a snippet, a video clip that highlights some of the issues that we're going to be talking about, the drug pandemic in Zimbabwe. And then we're going to get into the conversation, introducing some of the panelists and the people that we have. So I'm going to start off with a video clip. The video clip is courtesy of Thai International, which highlights the Guka Makapela issue. And stay tuned, earGROUND, as we bring you the conversation, REKETA, New Voices Amplified.
Anzi mnozi gangster 40 gangster 40 sam pane mkuru ere gangster 40 kanoti mungori team hapana mkuru hapana mdika hapana mkuru hapana mdika team nyanga enda yapana hapa ndongonzoti anzi hakuna ma drugs akasiyana siyana mazono kuti utonzo anzi kune unonzi mutoriro ere bulb something nokwanisa mondudze ere kuti anzi guka makafala sa dombo ndatombonza iri song je isada kuti mumbonudze kuti boys zofamba sei mama please
guka chikuita dirirowe guka pageto vanhu vari kushaya zvekuita nyika yedu haisi stable zvekuti vanhu vanganzi vangatadze kurova madrugs. Inini hangu kuside kwangu ndotosimbisa madrugs, ndotoona ngasina kuipa, but ndine zvekuita nandisingarove madrugs, but madrugs ari kutorova zvakaipa. Ameno boys iri kunditi yenda karova nebob, ndakarova nebob. Ndinoda kungoziva hangu kuti sei riri kuti madrugs akaipa kana kuti bob rakaipa.
Kuona wangu baubu rakadhakwa. And my studies unoona tashuwa kuti 90% yevanhu vari kurova baubu vanoaffectwa nelung cancer idzi. Saka and vane higher chance yekuti havakwanise kuita vana, saka baubu rakatodhakisa last number rasta kuti nengokata makore rasta. Saka unoita cancer.
Yo pfungwa dzako wakamboenda here wakanziva
mastudies akashuwa rasta mulab
kupi kwadoctor.
So this is a part of a very interesting conversation amongst the youth, some of them that are actually using the Guka drug. And there was a documentary that was done by Vice sometime last year, which was quite interesting, documentary. So I'm just going to play a snippet of that. And
cough syrup, yeah man. So many people are drinking it. Everything here is down.
This one makes us feel better. Cheapest way to get high, $5.
Police are come after we, but we don't give a damn about them. If they come, we wanna give them $2, they go back.
Yes, so that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. And that is part of the media content that we have that highlights the pandemic in Zimbabwe. Let's talk. Let's have the conversation. How is the situation? What's the situation on the ground? And please kindly introduce yourself and what you do. Just starting off with Clinton.
All right. Thanks so much, Plot. My name is Chirenje. I work at Youth Empowerment and Transformation Trust. It's a youth networking organization that seeks for a just, inclusive, and prosperous society where young people are leading in sustainable development. So, looking at the trends and what is currently happening, is yet with something that we did called a youth situational analysis. And in this youth situational analysis, we discovered that only 7% of young people were formally employed. And young males were 9% more likely to be formally employed than their female counterparts at only 7%. And it's sad because more than 51% of these youth who reported to be employed were engaged as general hands. And those who were formally employed were reporting to be doing things that they did not study for. So now, with most youth being informally employed, the COVID-19 pandemic negatively affected youth livelihoods through restrictions on movement and gatherings, and closure of essential economic activities, including informal vending sites, and destruction of those legal vending stores by urban and rural municipalities and councils, has made young people resort to drugs. It's pretty sad, and at the moment it's more worrying because I'll quote what one of the young artists says. Holy Ten in his trade code, he says, "Vema drugs take you in, and them sort of simudzana." So culturally, we have then sort of like created an environment where young people are not really free to express, and mental health is taken as something that is very light. So I'm not incriminating young people. I'm saying they really need help. We need to approach them and help them deeply. Also, we are looking. We need to to monitor and evaluate how are these drugs coming in. Because it's pretty difficult to come from South Africa with like a pack of my contraceptives. So if my contraceptives are hard to just enter Zimbabwe, how is a whole pack of broccoli coming in? How is then guka coming in? So looking at my trends, this is what we're looking at. That's all from me.
Wow, great. Tumbo Ikanda Kunima Youths, Lazzie T, you're a producer, you're an artist, and you've spoken quite a lot of times about Nyama drugs. Chichirugitika, Zvagamira says, Ruva Kupi Swenda Kupi.
Well, let me say this. First of all, Ndombo's introduce. Intronzi Lazzie T, Magabos Finance, Warren Bagasla, Ghetto Commander, the voice of the voiceless. Right. Number one reggae artist in Africa. Regantaura njira izo. Chiri chiri kuitika ndechekuti mageto ethu ari kudhakwa ari kurwa neguka. Right. Kuno ghetto kwangu kuno. Kwandogara kuma areas yangu kuno. Mike yangu rinzwika here ano.
Yes, Trokunzwa.
Muti zvandi? Zvafana ghetto kwangu kuno. I think 2019 I did a video yemutoriro. Ndakatoenda pabase panoitwa zvinhu zvese zvezvi. Vandasvika. Zvafana kuti areas yangu ino vanhu vakaona ndasvika. Vakaenda vamwe vacho vakutengesa vapana, vamwe vacho ndeage yangu, vamwe vacho tendi kuchikoro same stream. Saka vakaona ndasvika vabva vatanga kundiratidza kuti guka rinogadzirwa so ndichiona hangu yese yaita yaitika bhoti pane documentary rangu randaigadzira. But challenge yakuitika manje ndeyekuti mapurisa havasi kusunga vanhu ivavo. One, pasina kuti hanzi munyika muna mabasa ka. Vana vaparara zvafane paware mpaka haikuware mpaka. Unoona mwana mudiki akapfeka uniform. Akamira dzimwe dzimba handikwanisi kuti ndidzitaure pana. Because ndiri kuareas unokwanisa zvongosvika usvikirwa netimu unziwe uri kuti fumurewo. Handiti. Mwana ari muschool uniform ari form 2 akapfeka uniform busy akurwa guka zvafana kumare kweri kuno muna January. Vanhu vakafa. We have lost a lot of vapana vakawanda vakafa muna January vakatanga kuti COVID. Ndikati no vapana vanofane COVID. Vapana havafane madrugs. Ndiri kuti kuri kupinda madrugs ari kupinda nekupi. Because kune nzvimbo but especially kwaRemba nzvimbo dzinenge 6 dzinotengeswa madrugs. 6. And a lot of young people career yavo yapera, vabereki vamwe vanotouya padheni pangu chinzi Lazzie mimi munoti tokuonai pa social media. Help us. Zvafana ngomfana izvi nezvakazoregedza madrugs wandikurekodha muchazomuona chamai manje wandaitaura naye enga akupenga brain kupenga chako chaiko kupenga wandazotaura naye zvikanzi mukoma ndida kurekodha nezvaakuita music anganzi akuenda kurehab kunosiya pamene kwaakunochengetwa uko but something chokuti chandikanganisa especially kumageto youth pasina kuti mabasa hakuna ngatisadzinzvenge nekuti mabasa hakuna ivo vanotengesa madrugs ava ndo vanokonzesa zvese because kune mumwe munhu kuti ari kuenda kubasa but still ari kurova madrugs ari kuita something but ari kurova madrugs. I think ndo zvandingangokwanisa kutaura izvinezvo.
Wow. Lazzie T, tobva tavadambosvika kuhighfields. Quinton, you're an artist but also uri ghetto youth. Uri kunatsoona zviri kuitika zvemaraini. The other day you were talking about Nyama Pampas and stuff. Maybe just introduce yourself and also tell us what's the situation muhudu zviri kufamba sei.
Yo, wagwan Zimbabwe nemunhu wese ari kuona this live stream yedu. Zita rangu ndinonzi Quinton Africa aka the handsome Gudo. Ndiri radio presenter and also dancer MC. Vanondiziva. Sanapedza kuzvintroduce, the list goes on and on because ndiri mwana MJs man. Vakawanda ndo zvavanoziva izvo.
As in there are wanting some drugs.
Yes, in my language, I pin some drugs. And then my big one going on go through my drug loads, my everything is a master in Banji. She's going to through my 2 cents. You get what I'm saying? My parents are going to inviting is a to import and exporter. Kukura kwese wataita kunoti achengetwa chi nema drugs ndo kukunzi kuna handsome Gudo ndo kwandakabeko ndisiri kuti zvinhu zvakanaka but nyaya kuti vabereki vangu ndo zvawaita kuti chi vandaramise. Aren't you get what I'm saying? Saka panyaya yemadrugs hainyaya iri tricky zvamanje manje because what we need in Zimbabwe is a better way yekuti tikwanise kuti mayouth edu asaparadzwa nemadrugs aya because now madrugs acho because isusu madrugs aitichenjera isusu angasiri ana hende ana mutoriro ana guka makafala vako mazana. It's sad, man. It's a sad story as much as I can smile right now on this camera, but it's a sad story.
So vari kurova chii chiri kuconsume nemayouth kumaraini? What are the young people consuming?
Mayouth manje kwezvinosvika nenyaya yekuti ngatimboti tiri mucovid mari iri kunetsa kuwana, they tend to take anything chinoita kuti vadhakwe. You get what I'm saying? Vamakuru amangemba mapills aida atinopa mapenzi, you know those pills anopiwa vana nemental illness so that they can ease up. Yeah, imagine that pill ukarinwa because that's the cheapest drug as far as I'm concerned because no per dollar unokwanisa kuwana a tray katray kaikaya kemangemba. You get what I'm saying? Then one pill uchadhakwa wadhakwa you can sleep for the whole day. Wamuka ukanwa mvura because one thing for sure chamuka in a dry mouth ukamwa mvura unobva wadhakwa futi.
And have you ever used drugs?
Yeah, yakambosvika nguva yacho kuti ndakambokurirwa ndakambofuririka.
How did you get yourself out of that situation?
I went back to my roots.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
We'll get back into that. We'll talk about the roots later on in Pagaori Papo. I'm going to move on to Judith, who's a media practitioner. Give us a perspective. Is the media doing enough? What's your role? What's your work? What's the situation like?
Okay, thank you very much, Plot. Hello, everyone. Hello, Zimbabwe. Apparently, the media, for now, it has not been doing much in terms of raising awareness against drug abuse and also giving those who are using drugs maybe a shoulder to lean on. So what I think is we need to go back again to the roots of communication, especially when we're looking at social marketing on issues to do with with drug abuse or anything which affects our communities and societies, we need to go back there and look at issues, look at how best we can reach these people, because we have to take note that communication comes with a price, with a cost. So we must make information be available to these people by just going to them with awareness campaigns. We need to go back to these people with communication which is affordable to them, because not every look, now we are talking about drugs and we are online, but how many people who are now using drugs are available on this platform to maybe to share and also assist in raising awareness on this issue? So it is important for us to maybe go back to our roots and talk about drugs, maybe in a different way of going back, maybe to traditional media. We need to go to the people, not rather relying on online digital platforms to talk about drugs.
Thank you so much. We're going to touch more on that in terms of the different parts of our communities and the roles that the communities could actually play in that situation. Clinton, you are working in this area, and tell us your background. Tell us what's the situation.
You know, like I said, from the research, the situation is set. Like from the current youth situational analysis, like what I've just said before, to say we are living in a world where young people, most of them are not employed, right? And I don't want to give them this card to say they're not employed, so they must do drugs. No, but the reality is they are not employed. And you know, Lazzie and handsome Gudo, you can witness kuti paunoswera paghetto hapana magetsi, hauna kana dollar, hauna kana chi. The moment some people are going to get money, the route to escapism is going to be drugs. That's the sad reality. And when then the lockdown started and when COVID came into the picture, we then saw, you know, mavenda achakwanisa kutenga, and the root term and the popular survival channel was now kungwava ngwava. So if young people are waking up kungwava ngwava, they've created a channel for them to survive, but ravarwa futi channel iroro. People cannot now wake up and ngwava ngwava because it's now not allowed, and you're supposed to be indoors. And we saw those structures, those structures were demolished, and they are now literally stuck. So I'm saying their escapism then was drugs. And
Interesting.
like yeah, so like what Nyansa Mgudu was saying, kuti ndane dollar, right? And I have the rest of my life to live. Like he said, kuti ndakamwa periods nhasi handiti ndoti ndadhakwa ndorara. The next morning when I wake up, I'm feeling dehydrated. Ndichingomwa mvura ndodhakwa futi. So at times the picture now ends up saying ndakadhakwa is better than to actually face this unsettling reality. So also, like what I said before, also to say, how then are these drugs getting in? These are key questions we also as young people need to start asking. Like I liked one of the comments on Facebook to say, let's not blame not having jobs or the government for making young people take drugs. Okay, fine. Let's take that. Let's embrace it. But then we as young people, what are we willing to do? We then can say, good, drugs plan. Besides Zema drugs, there must be an alternative for us young people to do, because that fanongo and say, let's just do Zema drugs. Because slowly, like the video that you played before, we are digging an early grave for ourselves. So besides escaping, do you then know what you're slowly killing yourself? I like what my sister said, to say then the media is not playing its critical role in raising awareness. The media is there to inform. That's one of the key roles that the media is to play. So if the media is not there to inform us, and you then incriminate these young people, trust me, this will be one of the conversations we will have for procedure's sake.
Interesting there. I'll move on to Louis. I had not given him a chance. I wanted him to speak at a time when everybody has had the chance to speak, because there's a very interesting narrative, but at the same time, it's coming from an institution that is working in this area. Louis, welcome. Hello. Hi, Luis. Hi, Luis. Can you hear us? So we seem to be having a bit of technical challenges with. Hi, Luis. Can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you. Yes, you can go ahead. So there seemed to be a bit of a challenge with the connectivity, but we're going back to Luis in a bit. Stay tuned. There's something that keeps popping up. People saying, "How are these drugs coming in? Into Zim?" Which is a very, very interesting question. And there's a new series by Magamba TV called Gazaland Police Station, and I'm going to play a snippet from that series and hear something that is very interesting. And then we're going to throw this also into the conversation. Stay tuned.
Gasha. Controller aone kwamba kwake uko ari koflota bronco pamba pale. Pamunhu wacho abva afone yanoni masco.
Saka afona wacho tsitsi dzake ndedzei. Asi kuda kuti mange youth amwe bronco.
Koleta. Bronco riri kurai mageto youth shamwari.
Ko iwo musombo unongomwa.
Sei vakambona chema musombo iri.
Musi waongo wakadhakwa wakabirwa maova pa night shift wanga wakadhakwa ne.
Shamwari, you have to know kuti bronco hard drug and riri kuraya vanhu. So we see inowainura inondivaraidza kufungwa.
Saka unokuka. Kontrola akabvira kudhara achitengesa bronco. Iwo noti kwedu kusada kumusunga. Madrug lords ese anozikanwa mazita avo nepaanotengesera, asi kubvira pandakatanga chipurisa panapa hapana kana drug lord randakambona richisunga.
That is a very interesting snippet there. What's your reaction when you see that? Is that the reality? Is that what's happening? Because somebody was actually saying that a lot of these drug lords are actually known.
Yeah, alunyeepera izvo afane kunongwa madrug lords ese anozikanwa. Hakuna munhu asingazikanwa kuti ndo zvaanoita areas yangu uno. Tese tinotovaziva kuti uyo ndiye anoita nezvakadai nezvakadai. Chonetsa ndechoti even kana ukanzi wakuripotera munhu ka zvinonzi unoerekana wasvikirwa netimu yakawanda. Kunzi iwewe unoda kuti dai so iwewe ende ukaripota futi kana mapurisa kwacho unonge usina kana support. Unonge wakatodyiwa kudhara. Amuna zvakafanira pa good example. Sata tomboenda kunyaya madrug lords echatore. Because pane rumors ziripo. Irikutaura kunzi ma-artists vamwe vedu nema-producers they are selling drugs. Ndamboitaura makuseni ndikati kana uri an artist be an example to the community. Because ma-artist kana ndiri lazi producer ndakutengesa ma-drugs kuvanhu. Zvinorevei? Because zvirikutoitika izvozvo ndomutaurwa zvikuitwa nema-artist vamwe muri kuti mota dzirifamba nema-artist vari kudziona kupo hakuna ma-shows, right? Hakuna ma-shows. But ma-artist vari kutenga ma-bands kana investa muchi. Andirambe kuti kune vamwe vanoitawo mariwo nezvimwe, but vakawanda vacho ma-artist vari kunzi vari kutengesa ma-drugs. And vamwe tiri kutoziva nemazita but mazita tikwanisa kuti titaure palive panapa. Ma-producer nema-artist, this has to stop. We are killing vana vadiki isusu tiri ma-role models. Kunzi lazokwaneko chinzi lazi anoproducer music akaproducer music wotengesera futi mageto youth acho ma-drugs. We are killing vanhu vaititanzi tiri kubatsirana mastudent tiri kusumudza mageto but tiri kuvauraya futi. Ndamurekodha munhu ndo namutengesera futi ma-drugs. We are killing those young people.
This is interesting. This is interesting because you talk about my artists who take some drugs, but there's also an issue of the messages. A lot of young people are getting exposed to my artists, and this is the reason why we have two artists represented here. What's your response to that, Lazzie T? Message irikupinda kuma drugs because slang yacho zhinji totoinzwira muma songs. My words are actually anamtorana go kama akafela. And still on that, I'm going to play a snippet. There's an artist, very interesting artist. There was actually a conversation about him, and then I had an interview with him. So I'm going to play a very small snippet, and then we continue the conversation.
Are you ready? earGROUND Radio. We came, we saw, we kicked it. New voices amplified.
No matter which part or which name we want to call it, Don't tell ya, Bukatadi say so. Stay away from drugs. Me know say times hard, system hard, out the road things now move in a proper way. And everything, this system art in a real life. System art. And our life still same way, get cool. You see it? If you not no hustle, you not know nothing. And no youth me know say, much of you, no youth, enough of them have a baby or a baby mother or two wives and them thing there. You know, me know say everything tough right now because be a fire. Be a fire. Run boya. If you not no work or a plan, if you orchestrate or if you start something. You see it? I mean, you know, say no youth the mind too idle. You know, it don't say an idle mind is a devil's workshop. You see what I say? Real talk. If you not think about something productive in your life, you're not gonna get nowhere. And same way, you're gonna indulge yourself in a groupie and them drugs, recreational drug users and them thing there. I mean, don't tell yourself, please the youth them, stay away from drugs them because drugs in a real life, they mash up enough people. Me don't tell yourself, sometimes we do things thinking that we know better than the next brother. You see it? Sometimes we do things through peer pressure. Sometimes we do things where we not even know about, you know, and we now know the repercussions, like the after effect of where we do out the road, especially in a this year time now. In a this year type of system, in a this year type of economy and them thing there. You see it? Too much pressure, it's a pressure we hard, you know, as a ghetto youth. And me see enough youth right now, them down a road, taking drugs, them not even know about.
I don't know how much of what he said you managed to comprehend there, but that's Dashoka. He's one of the dancehall artists, dancehall artists. He does the helmet subgenre, and he was talking there about drugs. So Nandichiripana Lazzie T, I want your contribution as a producer and artist. We see a lot of music coming in, especially Zim dancehall, talking about these drugs and stuff. What's your reaction?
Both pamati music ezimudhanzo ichita nezvemadrugs tachokwadi nhangu inini asandasangana nayo, but chandinowanza kuona zvangu ndezvokuti mamwe masongs anowanza kubuda amwe anenge achitokurudzira kurwa madrugs. Ndakarohwa nebrongo nemutoriro, hakuna kwatiri kuenda, hakuna zvanhu zvanenge vachiimba kamanye. Ndezvokuti mageto etsi asimbiswa nevamwe vanhu vanovanza song yakaipai, but message yaari kupa vanhu poison. Ukaona ploti zvakafanira kuti nini, ndakatomboenda panogadzirwa guka, ukaona pavhidhiyo yangu inonzi mutoriro yeye, ndakatoenda ndatoona guka richitengwa, vandaona zvese zvavanoita kuti vadhakwe zvese, vandati saka kana wazoda isu chii chinoitika, kanzi ndinenge ndiri kune imwe wodi, ndikati kana wazobva kuwodi yozoenda kupi, kubvunza kwandaitaka andika, but message iri kubuda zimudhanzi imwe yachona. Zvokachizoona vanhu vanonditi Lazzie vanoda kusvita nganoziya, vanechitaura chokwadi kuti madrugs akashata. Pasina kuti hanzi nyika mabasa oro chichichi kuti hanzi hakuna mabasa, zviya zvinenge zvatongogara zvimwe zvacho zviri kumumunhu. Kweni ndotadza kurwa sei madrugs, ndiri rasta bara ndirove kana mbanje kana chii, pasina mboti zvinhu zvakashata. Ndiri focused, I know what I want to do in life, but zvimwe zvachona kuzviitisa kurutswa nemageto izvi ndochokwadi. Plus vanopinza zvinhu izvi kaizvo, unondi kutaura kwaremba kuno ndichamhanya nemwe campaign chero achandoona muchasungwa mese, hatizvide izvi pedza.
Quinton, hanzi ndimuri kutenderedza madrugs aya, muri kuona madrugs achirwa maraini. What's your response to Zutana Lazzie T? Because you're an artist, ndimuri kuimba nezvazvo.
Iye Lazzie T wacho anenge achitorekodwa vanhu vachimba zvemadrugs. Iwe lakasora mumborekodha song yemadrugs here?
Handisati. Studio kwangu ndipe song 1 yemadrugs. Hakuna. Google one song. One song.
Yes.
Zvinizvika izvi zviri paviri handikona like kutaura achita pavachiti zvoni employment yacho chaiyo hakuna. Munhu zanenge achitsvaga kurarama, munhu zanenge achitsvaga chinhu chekuti chinotengwa faster handiti. Munhu sakutsvaga chinhu chekuti chikwanisa kutenga quick, munhu zanenge achitsvaga mari shari. But handisi kuti zvinhu zvakanaka, but izvi ndo zviripo. Those zviri paground toita say we need a way forward.
But plot
Yes.
inzonzo hakuna rinonzi business rekutengesa madrugs uchikwadza matumbu evanhu. That's not business. We are killing people. That's the truth. Hakuna business rakadaro, vanhu vanofa, vana vari kufa nazvo izvi. Hakuna business rekuti hanzi vana vanotengesa madrugs. That's business. That's not business.
Great. Regatimbo, it's a crossover. Luis, I don't know if you can try to say something now. Luis? I think we're still having a bit of technical problems with Luis' connection. But yeah, let's hear more. Judith, what's your take? No one is accepting blame. It's people are throwing blame all over.
Yeah, the subject is a bit sensitive. No one will really accept the blame. Even drug lords will say that, oh, okay, but I like this comment from Tafat Wakambiza. We're saying that the fact that that's when the government should assist, data Wi-Fi is no longer a status, but it's now a basic commodity. Like what I said earlier on, information comes with a cost. We are talking about awareness. We are talking about people vazive what's really happening and how to prevent and how to stop taking drugs and also how to recover from drugs. How would they know this? The processes? Do they know that the institutions which they can help them, the organizations which they can help them? As the media, what are we doing to make these people know of this information which these people need? So in cases whereby in Zimbabwe, we have a huge issue of digital participation divide. Not everyone can afford being on WhatsApp at the moment. The same youths who are on drugs, when they get that $5, that dollar they get, the first thing they're thinking of, they are going to look for Mtoro, they're going to look for Guka, and they want to maybe trying to get things off their minds to suppress their thoughts. Instead of buying data or saving money to buy a smartphone, they can't do that. They can't afford that. So as the media, we now need to go back. I'll always emphasize that we need to go back to the basics, to the traditional media. Let's go to the people. If these are going to be road shows, if these are going to be banners, posters, if there's going to be the road programs which are going to radio programs, which are going to talk about these issues, let the traditional media open the floor to these kind of conversations, especially conversations like these ones. They need to go also on traditional media for everyone to have this kind of information. Music is one part of one aspect as well, which can be used to raise awareness. But now, like Lazzie T is saying, that as now Zim Dancehall is one of the type of a genre which is accessible to most ghetto youths. But now if the producers are now also selling the same stuff, where are we going? So I always say that advocating that the media needs to go back to the traditional media. Yes, we can use all the digital platforms we want, but we need to go back to traditional media. If we are going to Radio Zimbabwe, going to talk about drugs there, let's do that. It will go a long way.
This is interesting. Clinton, does this work?
All right.
We go back to traditional media when young people are now going digital, like when everything is going digital. What's your take? How do we get the information out?
Lord, allow me to literally rongonora all this, right? I want to be realistic in approach, not, you know, let's say we go back to traditional media. We are probably going to invest, hypothetically, let's say 20,000. And could you engage in media houses? Because media is expensive. That's the honest truth, right? One. So let's pick that 20,000 and do about tweet up, right? Now let's go back to the music aspect of it. Could we have somebody, and I quote lyrics from a certain artist, anoimba kuti guka makafela rakakura ngevuvuzela zvirinani kuti titogara tichiteerwa kugara tiri mukati samandela. This is a quote from lyrics that I know from an artist. Everybody in this video is laughing because they know the song, right? And there was somebody screaming, a senior artist screaming, that is literal motivation for a certain young person to literally take these drugs in. So far, I'm going to say 20,000 yeah. Why not take this 20,000? Toto yenam ghetto, nemari. We build a structure for these young people. You end somewhere every day. Instead of them somewhere, let them sit down somewhere. And
yes,
all this money we want to, let's not be civic in approach. No. Now, general, physical, and real approach. Let's not waste money, saying let's print my banners and whatnot. It's not working. Let's go into that wood, pinam ghetto. And what pinam ghetto? Oh, right. Abam ghetto, abam computers, native structure. Pinda build let's build that structure and empower these young people. Because we can then say, let's bring them together and talk to them. Then after we talk to them, then what? They're going to go back to their houses and see hunger. They're going to go to their houses and hakuna magetsi, havana chikafu. In Glenview, so imagine if a young person is facing such in their day-to-day lives. Trust me, Plot. Let's be realistic in approach. We need to deal with the livelihoods of these young people, because it's going to be very difficult for us to bring back these young people when their lives are not in check. Whenever they're living there. So
the issue is.
You can come in.
No, I was saying the issue is about the economy. That our economy is bad. It is in a bad state. Young people don't have something to do. Is it the main reason, or young people are just not initiating enough to occupy themselves with alternatives?
I personally think this is where the fight is starting. Like all the previous speakers, they were saying, right? And trust me, nobody is going to hug that Mosha because DOH is a main reason. You get. So let's not look for the main reason. Let's say at ease here. Because another main reason could be saying young people, but nobody is holding a gun to your head to say go in the streets and ono tenga brongo. Nobody is forcing you to do that. So it's also a matter of choice. That could be the main reason. But also the economy could be a main reason. What I'm saying is, realistically, if we approach young people saying they are criminals for taking these drugs, we are going to lose them. And
because this is what's happening. Young people are getting arrested for taking these drugs. There's no rehab center. And once you're still on that, I'm just going to play a snippet from a documentary that was done by Vice. And since that documentary was done a couple of years ago, I think about 3-4 years, nothing has been done with regard to that. It has very interesting information.
We can say probably more than 50% of the youths in Zimbabwe are actually taking drugs.
And once you're hit, it's hard to get help because the only specialized rehabilitation options in Zimbabwe are privately run and unaffordable for most users. Hilton tells us how the government handles it.
If you use drugs, you are a criminal, you should be sent to jail. So as an organization, we are saying the legal system should actually have some kind of rehabilitation or treatment.
The treatment for drug dependence is only available in psychiatric institutions. By keeping them in the hospital and then giving them some like maybe diazepam to make sure that they don't take the drugs. So eventually they forget to take drugs.
So quite interesting there, and the only treatment that is available, that is widely available, apart from a few privately owned rehab facilities, is that you go into a psychiatric unit or one of these state-run institutions, but there is no rehab center in Zimbabwe that is easily accessible. Let's talk.
Plot.
Yes, Quinton.
The only way ndada kuchukudza inokwanisa kubatsirika munhu anenge ari pamadrugs, yeah? So unofanira kuita in fact, let's dai ndiri zvangu president inini zvandaifanira kunge zvandofungiza zvingaitwa vanhu vaya havafanirwe kuita zvazvo zvekunzi tiri kukumbira kuti uende kurehab. That's not how it's supposed to be done, Claude. Munhu ari pamadrugs hateereri zvinhu zvakadaro. You get what I'm saying? Haudzwe kunzi tiri kungoti uende kurehab so that you can stay clean, obva waita nehealth yakanaka so that you can live longer. They don't listen to that. Pauda tongoti munhu atongosvikirwa nevakomana otongobatwa kunge mbavha, Claude. Uri kunzwa? Otongonzi GG, otondoenda naye kuri by force. Those without because to talk about drugs, we're talking about something illegal. You get what I'm saying? We're talking about something illegal. So you cannot take legal ways of dealing with this. Can drugs don't have to create a drug-free generation? GG now kuma rehabilitation centers now so that they can stay clean. And let me tell you something. Kabani singa rwadzi national jazz man here. Kubuditsa mari. Police shongo yanongopuwa mari zvopera zvakadaro. Police akutongodzokera vanhu tavashaya.
So here's my question. I'll ask Judith. These conversations have been taking place for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's back and forth. Are we not settling in the same space? Where is families? Where are the families? Where are the churches? Zimbabwe is a very religious country, and the church is very loud on so many things. But when it comes to this issue of drugs, we don't see them, taking a very bold position. Where are the churches? Where are the politicians? Where is the government? Our parliamentarians with regard to the drug issues? Like, where's everyone?
With the government and the parliamentarians and maybe people in power, with this conversation which we are having and stuff which has been discussed, I really I'm a bit limited on what really they are doing towards this issue. But what I saw today at a place where I stay, there was a team of police officers who ran a road show. I stay in a complex, Zema Flats. They ran a road show, and there was an issue. There is a suspected drug lord within the community, the complex where I stay. So I think they are now acting up, because if you see the police public relations now moving with speakers and moving also with Vachitaura, like loudspeakers about drugs, and also how they are assisting as the police department, how they are now assisting people with drugs in their specific departments. I think they are now taking action because of the noise which is now being raised towards this issue. So I think the government, maybe through that, they are now taking action, but there's more which can be done. When it comes to family, it's okay. So when it comes to family, family, they are now with the new drugs. Vanhu vanga vajaira madrugs aya ekuti munhu is an alcoholic, munhu anongorova mbanje, and now these new trends, dema drugs, crystal meth, bronco and stuff, families at the moment are also a bit confused. And with the economic situation which we have in Zimbabwe, families also are paying more attention. They're living hand to mouth. They're paying more attention to making sure that there's food on the table, and so forth and so on. So now, kutera munu ari on drugs. It takes a family with the resources to take this person to a rehabilitation center which they can afford. Rather, otherwise they just leave the person like that, because at the end of the day, they are focusing their energy on getting food on the table and taking the kids to school. And also churches, resources are a bit limited. Maybe in an umbrella term, resources are limited at the moment for them to rehabilitate people and to go into communities to help these people. But if resources are there and if they get enough support from the government and the institutions which can assist these people, I think it can also go a long way. But at the moment, we're going back again to the issue of resources which are not readily available.
This is quite interesting, because I hear the conversation here is centering around the youth as the ones that are taking drugs. But there's been quite a lot of findings and a lot of reports that have pointed that even the families are now affected by drugs. And I'm going to play a video from ZBC, Credit ZBC, which looked at a family that actually has the parents being affected by drugs. So stay tuned.
48-year-old Edith Kawamba is addicted to bronchlium. Like many other people in Mbare, substance use disorder has taken over Edith's life, and her 2 children are now hooked on drugs.
hapana zvandaimbofungha kana kuti ndiendese vana kuchikoro hapana, ende zvakatokonzera kuti vanangu vaite unhu hwacho vandichingoita iwo wemadrugs iwo. Ndakatoona kuti ndakatovhiringidza vana newo madrugs andakatoita. Bhozi kuti ndichamutsura nemadrugs achanzwa kuti ingaimwa bhurongo taikuna muchishama. Vana vacho vanotoba madrugs akashaya kana bhurongo chaiyo kana chine mumba chaiyo anotora kutengesa.
For some, this has become a way of life, and there seems to be no way out.
Ndambosangana nebronkli saka arengera kutondivhiringidza, kushaya appetite, kutadza kudya, kungoita zvinhu zvese noise violence.
Ndakatanga nebhurongo nechamba ende takangotanga ngoita zvemusikanzwa zvese. Ndakatanga nembanje pandadzisiya pandazotanga kutora bhurongo.
There's always a chance wekuti anopinda munomu, and how are they getting in Zimbabwe? So I mean we need to start from there.
Taitokumbira kuti hurumende dai kumapurisa kwaiswa office yekuti inenge ichita counseling about drugs.
The health and social effects of these drugs are well documented, but somehow they ignore them, only to come face to face with reality in the worst possible manner.
Chokwadi ngemskana ningosikatomufungika kana muskana.
Ndakarwara zvezvokuti ndakangosiya madrugs all of a sudden. Ngorwara zvisinganzwisike nekuonda. Kunyanya bronchly my health system ndikutoona kunge yatodhakwa.
According to a recovered former drug addict, recovering from drug abuse requires personal motivation.
I've been taking cocaine for about 7 years, and at the moment I'm clean for about 5 years. It only started with a personal motivation and probably support from friends.
Zimbabwe's Civil Liberties and Drug Network, a group which is working with people who use drugs, reckons there is need for a drug policy.
The laws are criminalizing, they criminalize people who use drugs. A person who uses drugs, once he knows that there is law enforcement or there are police around, they go underground to such an extent that they don't come out for help. So I think our policies, they need to be humane.
Last year, government, in conjunction with other partners, launched the Zimbabwe Drug Master Plan, which contains strategies of treating people who use drugs. Abigail Tembo, ZBC News, Harare.
Yes, that was a report by Abigail Tempo, ZBC, and it's very shocking because you'd find it's no longer just the kids, but also the grown-ups, the leaders of the families that are affected by drugs. Louis, I don't know if we have you now. Can you say something? Hi, Louis, can you hear me? Louis? Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of messages as we continue with the conversation. I'll read some of the comments that are coming in from people. Nkosinatis Zikode says, instead of restructuring recreational centers, Vadzosama green bombers. Okay. Guys, the thing is, you all know who the drug peddlers are in the ghettos, but you can't point them out. Why? Because society is messed up and they're not united. Malvin Sluggy, you'd say, stigmatizing Wafana Saka Vagastika won't help. They need activities in the communities, rehabilitation. Jimmy Jimalo says, police and all my drug laws. And, you know, Boskeda says, Machechi Aruku
Timon. The reason why I laughed that time, they can go.
Oh, okay.
That's what I called it. I was like, what?
Even families are always saying, drug addict are going to this Kwagana Kunganga, Kunopisqua, Mabibo or something, or my post story. But
it works.
Really? Oh, okay.
Lazzie T. Zoitwa say, what's the way forward? What can be done? There is solid on that's one out. Maybe possibly this could actually work. You want to my use marine.
Ya indoswera team ndikakuudza zvakamboitika areas yangu. Palock takambopiwa first 21 days dzedza vanhu vakavharirwa. Zvakaita masoja akasvika pane imwe dhena itengeswa madrugs pakarohwa munhu wese. Parohwa munhu wese. Ndautaurira chokwadi zvakatoshanda. Pakaita 2 weeks vanhu vasingarove madrugs ndikukutaurira kani. Vanhu vari sober vakazvimba vakati vamana tichaurwa madrugs. Atichaurwa madrugs. Nzvimbo dzokumarani kwedu dzikatombovharwa. Bozi masoja aifamba. Badezvo zvokuti mapurisa asunge vanhu aya. Mapurisa. Mapurisa anenge achitodawo mari. Mazana antowa last pakachirori watu varasi vanhu vacho ndakaona vadzoka futi. But asi pakauya army ndokutaurira chokwadi. Bozi masoja anongopiwa orders etaunorova. Vamwe vakatotiza kumarani vanhu kudisappear areas. Kuti vamadrugs havatiza zvokunzi etira kuti vaende kurehab muchivasekerera. Timu racho ndoriziva. Havarizivi nevanhu ivavo. Vanhu ivavo havarizivi ndoswera navo kakuno. Vamwe vacho vatori apa. Vamwe vacho vatoripo apa. Vanhu ivavo havarizivi navo. Vanenge kutora mudaita chirungu kuti you guys come on guys. Tizogadzira rehab center. Those guys havarizivi. But asi masoja akapinda zvikanzi hurumende yakuita zvirisira zveshuwa kuti chero mupurisa awanikwa nemusoja anorohwa. Mupurisa akabatwa naiso. Pakarohwa nemapurisa kunoka nemasoja. Musakapenda masoja. Ava vanhu vanoda kungorohwa. Vozodzidziswa futi pabonzi hazviitwe zvakadai so. Vozo kunoka vanotya masoja tiri pachikomo kai. Vakaburuka vakarova vanhu. Vanhu vakadisappear month yese vanhu vakatiza area zvikanzi kuri kupisa hakusi kumirika uko. Ndozvanoda ngotaura at least government ikaita ma-tough measures. Tisati atombogadzira ma-rehab centers here. Tomagadza tovaendeseko. Vodzoka futi vocontinue. Asi vamwe vakamboita vachibhurwa mbijana zviri right.
Clinton, is that the way to go? What's your take?
Okay, I was noting what the producer was saying. It's one way. I'm not going to dismiss him. I've lost a friend during this COVID lockdown, and it's pretty sad. So yeah, there's at one stage these people lose their thinking capacity. Like I think pane video yakamboita trending futi this guy anachite dululu whatever. If you follow that video, nothing that is said in that video makes sense. So I'm with him partially, not fully. There is force at times it's needed, but before we go to force, let's not just straight up incriminate these young people. Let's first take mental health seriously. Like what was said on the comment, kuti nyaya dze wakangonzi uri kurwara anotakunzi hai demon wakanzi kuirwa madrugs demon. Sometimes haisitombori demon. Probably this kid grew up in a broken home. There are a lot of realities that people do not then consider and take seriously. So as a way forward, we need to take mental health amongst the youth and even grown-ups seriously. I see nyama demon. Depression is real, and people actually need people to talk to. Very true. Number 2, we need recreational places, because I'll take example like Gwande Ziva. For example, Kambuzuma, like there was one time where even the ground was a no-go area. So when gyms are closed. That stress and everything, it goes away. So people just literally need things to do. That is one big problem that we have right now. People don't have anything to do.
What's happening to the social facilities that were there? Because I remember back in the days they were there. But I hear my church are going to take over most of these community halls, community spaces, and some of the land is being sold. What's really happening? What's the situation? I know, for example, in a neighborhood like Kambuzuma, there are so many facilities. What's happening? What's happening to some of these facilities? Are they still there, Lazzie? Are they still functional? Quinton.
Zvapana kunokuware mpakira nzvimbo dzakawanda dzakatengeserwa kumachechi. Andika kwaiswera vana vanhu vachitamba vabva kuchikoro vachitamba basketball vachitamba bhora zvakatengeserwa kumachechi. Ende zvimwe zvacho yaminda yakurimwa mbambaira maground ebhora aya. nezvibage. Saka there's a lot zviri kuitika. Kuno ground retandem retambirwa division 1. Ezvinezvi rakurimwa mbambaira zvaro. Sikanzuru soka. Alright, ipapo ndapedza. Ndakatodini wai.
So we're going to take a small commercial break, and we're back in the last 5-6 minutes, 10 minutes, and then we end off our conversation. But yeah, thank you so much to everybody who's tuned in. You're tuned into earGROUND, and we're having a discussion around drugs, and the talk show is called REKETA. Yes, we are back. Lazzie T there was sharing his sentiments. Quinton.
Yes, madam.
You know, I keep coming back to you because you're somebody who has used drugs before. You're somebody who has been involved in this, and you're saying, drugs, you know. What's the way forward? But was it the same? How did you deal with it yourself? Like, how did you get yourself out of drugs?
Inini yes, ndakapinda mazviri, but vabereki vangu havasiro vakandidrega into it. Like ndatoonekwa ndakabata kana bepa rearia bepa chete ndichange ndikunyebedzera portfolio yange itori shamu yange iri serious iwe. Bona saka zvinhu zvokuti ndakazviita zvangu, but kumba kwangagara atori mawani. So zvakazondibatsira inini ndezvekuti ndakadzokera kumaroots kwangu, like zvanandichikudza kuti I went back to my roots. But kumaroots kwangu inini I was helped in a traditional way, and ndina hangu kuendeswa kuchurch kunobviswa madhimoni or anything like that. But I just went back to my roots. Aiwa, zvintu zvakasiyana nanga nesvikiro. Saka inini ndakapfuura nekune svikiro guru rinova rekwandinobvawo, ndo vakandibatsira. Ende zveshuwa sometimes kana munhu achiita zvemadrugs achiita zvaanenge achiita inenge iri mweya yetsvina zveshuwa, because drugs chinhu chokuti chakatounzwa kuvanhu kuti chikanganise vanhu kuti vaende followers. Handikuti vanhu kutaura plot. China zveshuwa. Saka
sorry. Yeah, okay. No, you can continue.
Saka imagine ngetori mweya yetsvina zveshuwa. Like inini papo, because imagine plot. Dai ndakastika kubrongo, dai ndakastika kunana mitori, dai ndokutorwa mutoriro izvezvi, because ndana kuti chete chinodhakaka ndo zvanenge chichongoita panguva iyoyo, waiziya. But there are so many things, there are so many ways to kill a cat, bro, rather than just getting high. Maybe that is the decision in that and but I was helped in a traditional way. Ndakatonobikirwa doro, ndakatoitwa sei handizokudze zvese in detail because haungambozvinzwisisa uri mwana mudiki.
Lazzie T.
Saka mazano saka sandabatsirwa in a traditional way. Saka advice yangu ndeyekuti kana uchibelieve in mapostori, batsirwa kumapostori. Kana kuroma kuchikubatsira enda kuroma. But inini kwakandibatsira zvangu na went back kuculture yedu yetsika dzedu dzechivanhu, tsika nemagariro, ndo yatoo lifestyle yangu.
Okay, interesting. This is quite interesting. Judith, what's your take? Like, he's proposing that we go the traditional route, and that's what he used, and it worked for him. What would be your suggestion?
I agree with him. If it works for someone, it works. You know, spiritual things sometimes they you can't really explain how it works because there are different cultures and different religious issues. But if it works for some, it worked for someone. Maybe people can also go that route. But I agree with him. I agree with him. Let's use all aspects. Let's use all things which we can use to make sure that we deal with this. We deal with this issue. I agree with him.
Interesting there. Let's use all ways that we could use to fix this. Clinton.
Yeah.
Your reaction as we're winding up.
I think as we wind up, I will go back to what I was saying. That was my lead point, to say we need to give these young people what to do. The state of livelihoods for young people is not currently stable and safe. Like my youth, seriously, varikudama recreational facilities, and even more, they need to be told. Like vanodama discussion. We need to start talking to these young people because even their mental health is stable, and we just continuously, because this is just the start of this dialogue. We need to continuously keep engaging because it's not like to solve my problem. So it's an ongoing process because we know Pinda with time. So we also need time to deal with these things.
Okay, great. Lazzie T, as we're winding up.
Yeah, what I want to say is Clinton ataura zvese apedza masports zvese ataura mayouth anoda kutsvagirwa zvokuita but asi kumadrug lords nichandokokumbira hangu dai ndine Emerson Mnangagwa inini lesetlasi Emerson nhasi ed ndokumbira hangu kuti madrug lords vacho vanotengesa vambonoputitswa nemasoja stereki vanhu vavanga varohwa zvokurwa zviya stereki ivo vanokanganisa vana but asi avo mayouth vechidika vanga vatsvagirwa zvokuita tikatsvagira zvokuita zvinovabatsirawo ndo chete chezvandinazvo.
Okay, great. Judith, your last words.
Okay, yeah, I'm grateful that we have managed to talk about a lot of things. Takwanisa kutaura zvakasiyana siyana zvinoaffecta my youth in terms of drugs, and also looking at how it also affects families in such aspects. But I will always say that in as much as we don't want to talk about using the media or using different types of communication, we need just to be loud about it. We must not stop here. Let us also go offline about issues of drug abuse and communicate effectively about it. Yes, we can talk of recreational rehabilitation centers and stuff, but we must also raise awareness against drug abuse. I think it is very important. The media has to play its part as much as possible. And maybe, I don't know how best they can do it, be it ZBC, be it the radio stations we have, maybe just having one slot each week of talking about these things, or having maybe even the civic society getting airplay just to talk about these things. It will also go a long way. We need to speak about it. Let us not stop here.
We need to continue speaking about it. Those are the words from Judith. Quinton, wataura wako zvakakushandira, but what's your advice before we end the program?
Chekutanga ndechekuti kana usati wapinda mazviri usatombozvitry zvako, because once wapinda mazviri zvadhakwa watonyura. Church 2, kana wapinda mazviri teedzerewo nzira dzandakafamba nadzo, teedzera nzira dzakafamba nevamwe vanhu kuti vaite sei
nzira dzevakoma.
Nzira dzevakoma because ushaye matsimba akamuzira ineminzwa isi takabvoneka. Saka advice yangu ngekuti chii, usapinde muna taisireva izvi zvako zvinda sei zvinofamba bro, and then chekupedzisira Judith akanaka.
Panambo komenta achitazi Quinton, mundibvunzira kuti Quinton wakabatwa here, hanzi uri kutsomwa.
Handiswe hembe, handiswe guka makafala, handiswe mapamba, handiswe chii. Inini ndinodhakwa nezvinhu zvakaropafadzwa.
You just mentioned Pampas there. Tell us about it before we close.
Mapamba. Mapamba arikudhaka mapamba nemapenzi. Judith, unoona kuti business remapenzi vanenge vashandisa mamacho mapamba aya anotenga usingaite ugeto, but never do that. I'm just joking.
I know I won't.
So yeah, people are actually getting high on those. Vanomaboilisa handiti, vanoita mapamba aya. Vomaboilisa mvura iya inenge vobva mashina. Mvura iyo inobuda ipapo ukainwa unorekenwa zvimwe zvekuti mawana.
Is that true? Is that happening or it's
yeah, it is happening. It is happening. Did you know mafere pazimbosera rinodhakwa nemapamba?
Ish, pakaipa. Mawan. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate the time that you took, and I hope I know this is a drop in the ocean, but you know, there are more efforts that are being done in different spaces, and we hope that this will just add to those efforts, and we hope more efforts are going to continue as we fight the drug pandemic in the country. It's really a serious one. It's far away when you don't know anyone who's close, who's been affected, who's under the influence, who's struggling with drugs. But when it comes home, then it becomes reality. So stay tuned to earGROUND. Thank you so much to everybody who's been watching. Unfortunately, some comments I was not able to pin them or read them, but definitely we will take every comment that came through as valid information. You to pass it on to institutions, organizations, and also the government that are working on this. And until next time, we'll advise you what's our topic for next week. But from time to time, we're going to be giving you some of the important conversations around young people and be having them as bold as possible without fear or favor. We're going to be talking about some of these things. So I'm going to play a song from the artist. It's called Click. K Slick was an artist. He's got a song that talks about drugs, and then we end the conversation. So stay tuned.
Time on this with finest.
Jacks on the track.
Anzika nosati wamborowa guka wakasara mahitsi matatu unenge watoparara unobva wangwarangwara aumbonzi nzara murara wakagara chingosekerera unozvifonera foni ukaidaira kunze kunoedza uchizvigaira chero malike pafacebook unenge uchizviisira unotorota uri mukuru wekambani uine vashandi nemaforomani unotoona uri jinimbi unozviona uri chiyangwa unotokwira ndege america unosvika asi unozoshamisika uri murengi pamusika mwari chamwari dzangu dziri kurova mutoriro wapeiwo simba varegere mutoriro zvagi abhiusi vari kusaiza mutoriro vanomhanya badi nekuda kwemutoriro mutoriro mwari chamwari dzangu dziri kurova mutoriro vapeiwo simba varegere mutoriro zvagi abhiusi vari kusaiza mutoriro mapiritsi makakabira burongo mukashamira izvezvikwa makutambira amwe enyu muchatifira apa mudi kuzvishandira munotamira kutibira regai ndimbomutipira chicha muri kuzviitira munenge muchitoshamisira pfungidzira makapenga medzisiro yacho munozviziva muchapenga mwari chamwari dzangu dziri kurova mutoriro wapeiwo simba varegere mutoriro vari kuchema vabereke hanzi pwere dziri kuwanza zvinodhaka stereki zvakonzeresa kuti dzizare kumakuwa vapera murokesheni irarisi guhwa mandara mumaraini dzakura dziri nzenza majaha dzavanyope vazhinja vamarombe mutoriro